With over 40% of the American population being considered obese and nearly 70% of the American population being considered overweight, the problem actually does not lie with us being overweight. It lies more with us being under-muscled. A recent study found that only about 10 to 16% of the American population actually participates in some sort of weight, strength, or resistance training on a weekly basis, but almost 50% participate in some sort of cardiovascular activity like swimming, biking, running, walking, one of those things. So clearly the cardiovascular work is not affecting the obesity rate as that continues to rise. So a solution here is, instead of focusing on the cardiovascular exercise or dieting, a focus should be much more on resistance training, because it is the best solution to the obesity problem. Let me explain by starting with the problem itself. When we age, naturally we start to lose muscle mass. When we lose muscle mass, our metabolism slows down. Metabolism meaning the amount of calories that we burn on a normal day-to-day basis. One way to increase the amount of one way to increase the amount of calories you're burning or increase your metabolism is to just add more muscle onto your frame. However, if we don't resistance train and we do other things that don't involve that, we don't end up building muscle, which means we don't end up speeding up our metabolism. Now, this is a problem for several reasons. One, not only does it look not as desirable to not have muscle mass, but also a lot of things on the inside don't really end up working properly either. One of the biggest being a slowed metabolism. And again, why that is a problem: in order to lose weight, if somebody's obese and they want to lose weight, we have to be in a calorie deficit, meaning we have to consume less calories than we're burning. The only way we gain weight is by eating more calories than we're burning. So the only way to lose weight, you have two options. You can eat less or you can burn more calories. And eating less is a slippery slope, and you're eventually going to run out of room because you can only eat but so little in a day. You can't just eat nothing. So eventually it's going to run out of runway, right? So the other option is to burn more calories, right? But how do we do this in a sustainable way? Well, we just teach your body to burn more calories on its own by building muscle. A way to think about this is like, if you want to make more money, you can either work more hours or you can invest the money, and then the money will make money on itself, if that makes sense, like compounding interest and stocks and those types of things. Resistance training is like investing for weight loss. We're teaching your body how to do it on its own. Now, solution-based. We talked about the problem being when we lose muscle, our metabolism slows down. So how does resistance training actually boost the metabolism? Well, muscle is expensive tissue, meaning it costs your body a lot in order to just keep it around. So if you're doing resistance training, you're sending a signal to your body that says muscle mass is important to our day-to-day life, because your body is going to get really good at whatever you do a lot of. So if you do a lot of resistance training, your body is going to make adaptations to make you better at resistance training. That adaptation being building muscle, and then a side effect of that muscle being built is a faster metabolism. And you can take a look at the clients that we have served for proof that this is the case. We have a client named Sharon who's 58 years old. She was doing 3 to 4, sometimes even 5 cardio kickboxing classes per week as her main exercise routine. When she started working with us, we stopped her cardio routine and we focused more on a slow, controlled, progressive resistance training program where she was able to lose 25 pounds without doing any cardio at all. Very similar story to our client Kayla, who's about 30 years old, and she was using the treadmill at the gym. We switched her over to more of a resistance style training routine, and she was able to drop 30 pounds. Now, the best part about all of this is that these people are able to keep the weight off, because when you increase the metabolism by building more muscle, you allow your body a higher calorie budget, meaning you don't have to go on a restrictive diet in order to lose the weight, because your budget comes up here, so you can eat more food, you can enjoy your life, and you don't have to just go to a very unsustainable calorie level in order to keep the weight off. So if we're future casting and we're looking into the future and we're starting to visualize what this would look like, okay, in a great utopia world, what this would look like is health professionals, personal trainers, doctors, nurses, care practitioners, all of these people who are interacting with nearly half of the population who is obese, their curriculum and their education should be centered more around proactive and preventative care measures such as resistance training and nutrition, primarily the resistance training being a not only preventative measure but also a solution to many of the problems that people are dealing with in terms of obesity. So that's step one. Step two is to celebrate the ability that people have instead of the vanity, instead of what people look like. Hey, I want to achieve this look. I want to lose this much weight. I want to do this. I want to look a certain way. Instead, shifting the attention over to what people are capable of doing. I was able to squat 100 pounds. I was able to deadlift 200 pounds, etc., so on and so forth, and championing those more than the vanity measures. So that's number one. That's what it looks like down the line if we're going to take that route. And then eventually, people will shift their attention more to resistance training instead of things like cardio or crash dieting. We'll shift our attention more to resistance training, strength training to, one, build our ability, become stronger, more capable human beings, but also building the muscle long-term so that as we age, the muscle mass is naturally going to decrease, but with resistance training, we can fight that to keep the metabolism high as well as keep a full, able body as we age. Now, going a little bit darker, if we don't do this and we stay on the trajectory that we're on now, the obesity rate will continue to rise, and before long, nearly 50-60% of the population will be considered obese. And why this is a problem is because obesity alone is a marker of making other things worse. So let me explain. If you have cardiovascular disease, heart disease, high blood pressure, etc., just being obese makes all of those conditions worse. So if you had two people, one of them had cancer, the other person had the exact same type of cancer, one person is obese, the other person is a normal body weight, the person with the normal body weight is automatically healthier and just better off than the person who is obese. So if we keep going down the line, health problems are just going to get intensified and get worse. We're going to become less capable human beings. We're going to be less independent as we age, meaning we're going to have to rely on medications, prescriptions. The amount that we're spending on healthcare is going to go up, which is going to take a turn in the economy. You can just kind of see the snowball effect here. So to reiterate, in order to solve the obesity problem, the solution is not dieting, it is not prescription medication, and it is not cardiovascular exercise. It is resistance training because it builds muscle, which in and of itself speeds up the metabolism. Just by having more muscle on your frame, your body is burning more calories at rest, meaning you don't have to manually burn those calories. You're giving yourself a higher calorie budget, which means losing weight becomes easier and keeping the weight off becomes easier as well. Resistance training is the future, and I hope you're on board with me.